What's good, YouTubers and YouTubettes? This is JB Sports, back again with another one. The Errol Spence Jr. Spence-Crawford saga continues. Well-known boxing writer Lance Pudgemeyer, who also does interviews for Fight Hype, came out on Twitter and sent shockwaves throughout the boxing world. I don't know why it was shockwaves. If y'all be watching my video, I said similar things to what Lance said, but you know, Lance got the clout. Lance got the people that listen to him on Fight Hype, and they go to his Twitter page and they want to see what he got to say. But he came out and said, pay no mind to the rumors. Rumors every day. Yeah, pay no mind to the rumors that Errol Spence Jr. is in negotiations with Keith Thurman. That Errol Spence Jr. and his team are still in talks with Spence-Crawford and his team. The word he used was they're still engaged. Like they about to get married. Like they about to walk down the aisle. And one thing I can say about Lance and his statements that he made on Twitter is he's absolutely right about the fact that Errol Spence Jr. is not in talks with Keith one-time Thurman. I don't know where that came from. Errol Spence Jr. has told you guys time and time again that he ain't fighting Keith Thurman. Keith Thurman did him dirty back in the day. Back in the day, yeah, he did him dirty. And what's the old saying? Revenge is a dish best served cold. And right now he's serving that revenge to Keith one-time Thurman. Ain't willing to give him an opportunity because he feel some type of way about Keith Thurman not giving him an opportunity when he was a young lad coming up. With all that being said, I done got the shovel out and done a little digging. And this Errol Spence Jr. Spence-Crawford saga is coming to its conclusion one way or the other. Errol Spence Jr. and Spence-Crawford have a 5-day window for their fight to get finalized. And I'm still hopeful that the fight does get finalized, that they do score from the 1-yard line or score from the 2-yard line, depending on what boxing writer you're listening to. Hopefully it does come to fruition. But the fight has a 5-day window to get finalized. Now, if the fight does not get finalized, Errol Spence Jr. will either take on his WBA mandatory undefeated welterweight Matthias Stellonis. Now, I ain't gonna lie to you, that's gonna be a hard sell on pay-per-view. That's gonna be a hard sell in Las Vegas. That was gonna be the location for Spence versus Crawford. And now, if I'm advising Errol Spence Jr., I say take Stellonis to Cowboy Stadium, where you have a huge fan base down there in Dallas, Texas, and put that fight on over there. Put a strong undercard on there. Put a strong undercard. You know, I heard that his pupil, his protege that he's promoting, Frank Martin, is said to be fighting Chris Colbert, aka Primetime Chicken. They need to put that fight on another card. Put that as the co-main event. Put that on and put a strong undercard for that fight. And you hope to do 200,000 pay-per-view buys. Because Stellonis ain't got no name in boxing. He's a good fighter, but he don't have the cachet of a Spence-Crawford or even Keith one-time Thurman. You don't have that cachet, you know. That fight's not gonna sell like a fight with Crawford or Thurman. With all that being said, he can either take the fight with Stellonis or he can go up to 154 and make his debut at 154. His whole career has been spent at 147. Now, a lot of people will say, well, why would he go to 154 when his stablemate Jermell Charlo's at 154, undisputed at 154? Well, Jermell Charlo has a fight coming up with Tim Tszyu. Spence can get a fight with either Brian Castano, Tony Harrison, or J. Rock Williams, get a win And then he could take on the winner of Jermell Charlo versus Tim Tszyu. Now, if Tim Tszyu wins, it's no problem. You get Errol Spence Jr. versus Tim Tszyu for undisputed at 154. Now, if Jermell Charlo wins, now a lot of people going to say, well, how are you going to make that fight when they both have the same trainer, Derek James? But a similar scenario played out a couple of years ago when we had Daniel Jacobs and Sergey Derevyanchenko had the same trainer in Andre Rozier. You remember that? You remember that? And they still fought. And Andre Rozier was the lead trainer, or was the head trainer for Daniel Jacobs. And his assistant was the head trainer for Sergey Derevyanchenko when they fought. And they can do the same thing with Derek James. Whoever his assistant trainer, I don't know who is Derek James' assistant trainer, but whoever it is, well, obviously they have to train Jermell Charlo. And then Derek James can train Errol Spence Jr., who he's been with from the get-go. That's just how that'll work out. It ain't like the Klitschko brothers. When they're brothers, you be like, nah, they can't fight. They're both champions, but they're brothers, man. There's no way we can see that fight happening. You know, this is the same situation that they had with Daniel Jacobs versus Sergey Derevyanchenko. So that fight can definitely come off, despite the fact that Jermell Charlo said that Errol Spence Jr. is like a brother to him and he will never fight Errol Spence Jr. If the money's right, and that's the biggest fight out there for Jermell Charlo, why wouldn't he not take that fight? With all that being said, that would be a huge, huge fight at 154 pounds. And that would be a very entertaining fight. You have two offensive-minded fighters. You have two fighters that are looking to get their opponents up out of there. And it would be a good, good fight. So we will see what happens. And we will see what transpires. Now, as far as Keith Thurman goes, Keith Thurman had several opportunities to fight Errol Spence Jr. in the past. For whatever reason, the fight did not come to fruition. He's looking for that fight to happen now. He feels that he was the backup plan, but Lance Pudgemeyer has poured cold water on that. But Keith Thurman, man, he can get a fight with Yordenis Ugas, as he's named Yordenis Ugas as a possible opponent. When he was on that podcast, I think he was on the Last Stand podcast with Brian Custer, he named Errol Spence Jr., Spence-Crawford, and Yordenis Ugas as a possible opponents for his next fight. Obviously, Spence fight is not going to happen. Spence-Crawford is not going to happen either, not in his next fight. So Yordenis Ugas is the likely option for Keith Thurman. I'm going to throw another name out there that could be a possible opponent. Cody Crowley, the welterweight Canadian, undefeated, 29 years old. Obviously, if Stoyanis takes on Spence, that will leave Crowley out of the equation for Stoyanis fight, because that fight was talked about being as the co-main event for Spence versus Crawford. So that would leave Crowley without a dance partner, and that could be a possible opponent for Keith one-time Thurman. So Thurman got two opponents. He got Ugas, and he has Cody Crowley. Now, as far as Spence-Crawford goes, he just gonna have to wait. He been waiting. He ain't got no problem waiting. He got to wait a little bit longer for the WBO to call this mandatory. The fight goes to purse bid, and a network that want to put on this fight can bid on the fight, and they can put on Spence-Crawford's WBO mandatory defense. So we will see what happens, and we will see what transpires, but that's what my source is telling me, that this fight has a 5-day window to get finalized. If it doesn't get finalized, that Errol Spence Jr. will fight his WBA mandatory, or he will move up to 154. So we will see what happens, and we will see what transpires. Hopefully this fight gets done. Man. It's a damn shame that this fight is taking this long, and it'd be a damn shame if this fight does not get done. Errol Spence Jr. hasn't fought since April. So, you know, that's how the PBC fighters do. They fight twice a year, basically. So he on schedule, basically. But Spence-Crawford ain't fought since November. You know, ain't no urgency about him. You know, I would be like, look, man, you know, give me your best offer and let's make the fight happen. Man, I ain't fought since November, but Like I say, Spence-Crawford using getting that huge upfront money with Top Rank. He's looking for even more upfront money for a fight that he feels is the biggest fight in boxing. That is versus Errol Spence Jr. So we will see what happens, and we will see what transpires. Let me know your thoughts on the whole Errol Spence Jr. versus Spence-Crawford saga, and it's coming to its rightful conclusion after all this goddamn time. I mean by rightful conclusion, I mean hopefully the fight gets done. But either way it goes, it's going to come to its conclusion in this next 5-day window, and we will find out what will be the next course of action for Spence, Crawford, and Thurman. So we will see what happens, and we will see what transpires. Follow me on Facebook, Gerard.Briscoe.3551. Like, share, and subscribe to JB Sports. The man, the myth, the legend. And I holla.